I guess we'll wait like another 1 to 2 minutes just to see if we can get anybody else in. But for those of you who have joined, welcome. We're finally getting some really good weather here, and they're saying we might see some weather in the 70s today here in New York, which is very exciting.
Oh, that's nice. Is it going to be sunny?
It's actually pretty rainy out, but it's not windy or anything, which is super nice. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm happy. Okay. I think we can just go ahead and get started. I think it might be best to jump right in. But for those of you who are joining us today, if you are a returning guest, welcome back. We are so glad to have you. I know it's been about a month since our last webcast, but hopefully the wait was well worth it because today we're talking about the customer journey from an idea to a marketplace. If you are new to our webcast or watching this as a recording, welcome. Shuup is very excited to have you, and you've joined in for a really great first webcast. Like I said, we're talking about the customer journey, kind of from the beginning of a customer deciding on possibly, creating their own marketplace and starting their own business to actually forming that idea or business into a money-making reality, which is very fun. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tamara Fuchs, and I'm Shuup's growth and people manager, and I also am doing project management. So I will be able to fill in for productions portion of this today. And we are actually joined by Ellie, who is our technical sales director, who's going to walk us through a bunch of the sales aspects that a customer would go through when first contacting Shuup. Hi, Ellie. How are you?
Hi, Tamara, and hi for the people who are listening this. I'm doing great, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm well. I think, it's been a busy week probably for us and everybody across the board. I know a lot of businesses are kind of closing out their quarter one. So I think a lot of people are very busy, but it's a good busy, right?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So just to go over a little bit about what the customer journey or the piece of the customer journey we'll be talking about today. We're going to focus pretty heavily on the sales process as well as the actual building of the marketplace. And we're going to skip out on the pre-ample to that, right? So the research that a client will go into to actually find our company and do those things, a lot of those aspects tend to be client-based. It really depends on the type of person you are, the research methods you use, and things of that nature. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, once you are launched and Shuup has moved you into a support category, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we're going to skip out on some of those topics as well and just briefly go over a high-level view of what that would look like. So we will be honing in on sales and production here. I'm going to have Ellie go ahead and start for us today on a couple of things. But before doing so, I do want to show this lovely timeline that we send to our customers to just give you an idea of what we mean as far as onboarding goes and the part of the customer journey that we'll be looking at today. So we send this to our clients once they've signed their documents and paid for their services. And so that's why they are here with this big red X. Essentially, sales comes right before that, and things that go into this are the demo, specification discussions, actually signing the contract and any other legal documents that may need to be signed, as well as payment. And then from there, production takes over with a kickoff meeting and actually creating, testing, and launching the marketplace. As I said, we will not really be focusing too heavily on marketplace launch, post-launch. We will focus a little bit on this, but post-launch will be a very high-level view. So I'm going to let Ellie take it away with sales scheduling a demo.
Yeah, thank you, Tamara. So yeah, as you said, once the customer finds their way on our website, there are several options where you can request a demo or even talk to an expert. Basically, yeah, you can request this demo or schedule it through our website. And yeah, then it will most likely to be me or one of my dearest colleagues who are then going to have the first call with you. And yeah, the high level idea of the demo is, of course, like kind of getting to know each other a little bit better. So what I'm very interested to hear from the customer is, of course, what is their marketplace vision, and what are their goals regarding like how many vendors they're looking for, or like what, also a little bit background information is very important. Like I would love to know always like what industry they're working in, if this is a completely new marketplace venture, or are they perhaps migrating from another platform, and looking for expanding with Shuup. And yeah, kind of after getting to know each other a little bit better about like what's the goal and the vision of the marketplace and the background, then we would move on towards like actually more marketplace demo. So what this means is that we have a demo account where we can demonstrate all the Shuup's out of the box features. We can see what are included out of the box. For example, because we consider ourselves a true multi-vendor software, we have plenty of different kind of vendor features built in, admin features built in, and of course, how the customer acts on the marketplace. Yeah, and we have actually several different demo accounts. So depending if you are more product focused, or perhaps service focused, or even like in the restaurant business and you're looking for like a delivery integration or something like that. So that actually brings us to the customizations. So one of the strengths in Shuup is definitely that we can pretty much integrate or customize your marketplace to exactly how you want it to go there. So yeah, once going through the features we have out of the box and the customizations, we're already in a really good place to continue discussions from there. And of course, during the demo, my personal goal is that you get answers as many questions as you have, and also we can always discuss about the next steps. What would be your ideal timeline for the project, and when we could get started? And if in some cases, more technical consultations may take place where we actually connect the customer with a developer in order to dig deeper on some of their new feature requirements. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what happens during the demo.
Yeah, and I know for a lot of our existing clients too, or for those of you joining us, Ellie's actually our expert for our existing clients who want to do additional work as well. And so they go through this process, time and time again with what the customization may look like and connecting with developers. And so it's really cool. Shuup is a tight-knit team, as we like to call it. So you'll be working with, the sales team pretty regularly if you're adding on additional customization. So building that relationship from the start of a demo and onwards is always super important. So I definitely think it's a unique feature of Shuup that I'm proud to say we have.
That's good. Yeah, and then kind of on the next step after the demo, things to consider. So first of all, after the demo, we'll follow up with a lot of different kind of resources. We will, of course, send you access to the demo account so you can go play around, test it by yourself, but also some like additional information about like the legal documents, etc. And also we have so-called discovery questions. And those are an excellent way for you to kind of explore your business idea even further, and also give us more detailed information to the next steps. But yeah, after the demo, there are, of course, several things to consider when you're deciding if the Shuup is the platform for you to go for. And marketplace adaptability and vision is, of course, one of the big ones in there. And by the adaptability, I mean that how well Shuup can actually answer to all of your requirements, and about your vision is more so like, are you planning to really scale up your business, or play small? So Shuup is perfect for scaling up because there is no limitation on how many products or vendors or listings you can have on the marketplace. of course, also the unique features in your marketplace. When it comes to the multi-vendor environment, the multi-vendor features are really important to consider as a multi-vendor checkout to keep the process easy for the end customer, and also how easy it is to use for the vendors. So we have a separate vendor login where each vendor can go update their listings and update the description of their business and etc. So of course, the easy to use for the vendors as well. Um, and yeah, about the code ownership is one of the Shuup where Shuup really sets apart from other marketplaces out there, that we actually offer a roadmap to code ownership. So it's really a typical scenario where like a marketplace starts small within 6 months or 12 months or something. You might want to bring your own developers in. That would be cool with Shuup flexible licensing, and actually eventually even have a perpetual license to own the code ownership. These are like things what you want to consider before. Kind of like before doing the final decision, like on which marketplace to choose from. Do you have, Tamara, any thoughts on that one, if you would start in marketplace?
Yeah, sure. So for myself, I work closely with clients. And so as a project manager, we get to see kind of, marketplaces kind of come full circle. And so they start pretty small, they do a soft launch, then they actually launch. And once they take off and they feel comfortable with their marketplace, a lot of times companies do want to scale. And within scaling their companies, it becomes one of two things. It becomes wanting to either scale within Shuup and say, oh, we'd like these features. Can you and your developers help us? Or, hey, we actually have a team of developers because, we have this vision and we want to be able to get our hands a little dirty. Can we talk about different licensing and different types of things we can do to be a part of the process? And I think with both of those options, it becomes a partnership with Shuup. The way clients tend to describe Shuup and the way how we interact with each other, client to personnel, is really a partnership or a family type of bond. And so what that means is we put our trust within each other. So we trust our clients to follow the rules and of course follow their legal contract when we give them ownership to specific codes. And on the flip side, we are trusting that our client will, or excuse me, on the flip side, the client is trusting us to be able to help guide them and even sometimes teach them something new about how our code works and how, their marketplace can flourish and thrive in this type of setting. I think what's really cool about this and something is that's unique for Shuup as a startup and as a growing startup at that, is that we're always willing to hear from our clients and get their input and support, and different things from them to better our services and better serve the client. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it is a partnership, and Shuup is one of those companies that wants to do really well, but also wants to grow and learn from others. And I think that piece of it is something that's super unique. And so when considering whether or not to go with Shuup or a competitor, if it's a really close call, that might be the deciding factor. It might be that partnership mentality that comes into play. I don't know if
Yeah,
you feel similar.
absolutely. That's very important. Actually, that reminds me of something I wanted to say earlier. There is that, of course, in like you the customers can of course help us to improve the services, but what we want to also do is weigh in with our expertise in e-commerce. So we will be there in every step of the way, and of course share our best practices, how to attract new vendors, like these things in this nature. We're definitely like be there to be a partner with our customers.
Absolutely. And then, yeah, I think I could take over from here. So thank you, Ellie, for talking us through the key parts of the sales process. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into the sales process, and Ellie made it sound very easy. But 100%, if you have any questions along the way at any part in your customer journey, you can always ask a Shuup expert or whoever you're working with at the time, and they'll be able to help you get an answer or connect you with the person who can get you an answer. And that being said, the next piece of the puzzle would be the sales to production handoff. So once you've signed those forms and you have a kickoff date and you're about to start your marketplace, what happens next, right? And so that's kind of where your project manager would come in. So your project manager would have something called the kickoff call. This is typically the week that work begins. And so it's what it is an introduction to the marketplace, to the actual client, and of course to Shuup. So some of the things we discussed in a kickoff call are, you know, I wouldn't say repetitively speaking, but a client will be asked to kind of just talk about their marketplace and their vision as they've kind of done with sales. Sales will give project managers in production that quote, the quote that was given to the client as well as the contract, so we can see it on paper, but it's a person-to-person experience, and so we want to hear it directly from the client to make sure we're all on the same page. I think too, for myself at least, when I speak with a client during the kickoff call, it's basically the way I become invested in a project. I get excited hearing about their vision, where their marketplace wants to go, and how my role is going to help them get there, which ultimately I think that piece of excitement is also really helpful in driving some of the work that gets done throughout the project. The other part of that is we discuss Shuup's working norms. So because Shuup is a remote workplace and we typically do virtual calls, and obviously really do all of our work virtually, it's really important that we discuss those types of norms that may differ from other companies or other places or partnerships that clients may have seen beforehand. So that call is also about setting expectations. Additionally, we want to also talk about meetings that may be recurring, so status meetings, or we work in something called sprints, and so if there's like sprint sign-off meetings, we want to schedule or plan for those. And really just talk about the different deadlines that will kind of come up. And this doesn't necessarily have to be a hard deadline, but a generalized thought of where, establishing how many sprints we'll be doing for this project, a typical launch date that we're aiming for, and just really getting the project started, kicking it off, right? The next thing that happens is creating the actual marketplace. So of course, there's some background stuff happening, communication, usually via Slack for our specific, culture and marketplace. And we really, will meet pretty frequently. But at a high level, creating the marketplace is I would say in two main steps. So there's pre-launch, and then there's actual launch / post-launch. For pre-launch, that's basically prepping marketplace content for launch, and that is done mainly by the client. So something that clients will tend to ask is, well, what am I supposed to do while you're building the marketplace the first week or two, right? And they feel like they should be doing something. Well, the answer is they should be. You want to take this time to really prep all of the content that you'll need, such as your terms and conditions, privacy policies, any type of about us information or contact information, and sending over any design elements or brand assets. We typically want to see that in the very beginning of the project so that we have those things and can work on a more concise and streamlined basis. The second thing is actually building the marketplace. So that's where our developers will shine. They create the marketplace based configuration, and any additional customizations that are included in your quote tool, they'll go ahead and create those as well throughout the different sprints. Configuring the marketplace is a little cool, I think, because it's a mixture of both. So essentially, developers will help to configure specific things within the marketplace, but on the flip side, a client is responsible to configure some of the third-party services that they may use. Shuup uses Stripe and Shippo. One is a payment service provider. The other is a shipping service provider. And those are two that we use quite frequently. And with those, a client will typically have to set up those accounts and, of course, configure those API keys and different required materials within the back end of Shuup. Of course, that's where your project manager kind of comes in to be able to support and help you with understanding how to do those things for two reasons. One, we have to do that for the marketplace to work. But the second reason is we want to teach the client how to be successful going forward once they've kind of launched and are no longer directly working with a project manager. I think a lot of times, a lot of other companies or other people that you may work with sometimes forget that this isn't just a short-term type of project, or this isn't really a short-term relationship. Essentially, we want to prepare you to be the most successful marketplace you can be. And the only way to do that is to teach, support, and train you on the things that you'll need to know once Shuup is not directly working with you, or what we like to call hand-holding. And so with that being said, the last piece of this is actually testing the features and customizations. Shuup has created and recently launched a testing guide. It is in 2 to several phases. 2 is the minimum. So we do a beginner testing guide, a middle testing guide that is, it can be one middle testing guide to 20,000 of them if we wanted. Those are basically features that are custom to your specific marketplace, or that the developers had to do extra work on. And then they basically can create a testing guide for you that you'll be able to use. And then, of course, the final testing guide. And I did want to touch base on these a little bit. Your beginner testing guide is what's going to teach you about Shuup's marketplace. It takes you through every possibility that this marketplace will have out of the box, and will show you and ask you, are you able to do these things? So you are testing to make sure that they're working correctly and that they function, but you're also testing to see if you actually know where those items are located or how to actually do those things. So this is really helpful in the training process. On the flip side of that, your final testing guide is a little bit different. At that point at the stage, we expect that you know how to do these things. And so those are more user-based or use case focused. So they'll say something like, I want to be able to check out 2 different items from 2 different vendors. And you'll have to go and conduct that testing flow to make sure that the marketplace is functioning and that it looks exactly the way as it was intended. And of course, your project manager will be there every step of the way to kind of help you and address any questions you have. I do want to talk about the roles and responsibilities with creating the marketplace. So the developers, of course, are building the actual marketplace. Project managers are overseeing that the marketplace is done within your specifications in a timely manner, and is also supporting you. So we have support underneath project managers, so that's somebody who's going to offer resources, training, and support. A lot of times this will be your project manager, but you might also see a developer jump in to help with some support. You might see myself, if I'm not the project manager on a specific case, jumping in to help with support, just because I was a support manager previous to this, and so forth. And so we're all really just here to help you and reach the same end goal. And then finally, the client is expected to prep and or provide any necessary assets or materials for their marketplace. And so all in all, with roles and responsibilities being clearly laid out, we're able to create this amazing marketplace. So now that the marketplace is created, we actually have to launch the marketplace. And this is probably the most exciting day and piece of, I think, a project for both the client and the project manager, because you're seeing a client is seeing their dream basically come to life. And a project manager is seeing all the work that has gone into it from every role and responsibility come to life. And so launching day is pretty great. You'll have a launch meeting. Typically, this would be a 5 to 10 minute meeting just to make sure that everything is a-okay, and that you're ready to actually take your site live. Prior to a launch meeting, you'll have a pre-launch meeting that kind of just solidifies everything in great detail. So going over any testing questions that you may have had, any bugs that you believe you've encountered or that you've addressed kind of throughout your entire process, and just making sure we've fixed them and everything is working properly. And just going through all of those different items to make sure that your marketplace is the best it can be for launch. The second thing is checking the marketplace is launch ready. So yes, that kind of goes into your pre-launch meeting, but on the day of, you want to make sure that there's people available to help you. So typically Shuup likes to do early week launches, meaning Monday through Wednesday, so that if God forbid there was some type of issue or a support issue comes up or a bug comes up or any of those things happen, you have the correct people in the correct mindset and online to help you and make sure that the marketplace is launching correctly and is working functionally for your end customer. The next thing is actually taking the maintenance mode off. So essentially this is super easy. Shuup will take off the passwords that are protecting your marketplace from being seen from anybody else. And if a maintenance mode specifically is on, meaning a pop-up message that says, hi, we're under maintenance right now, we'll be right back, blah, 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 we just take that off. And those are pretty simple items to do. And then the last thing I know I touched upon is standby support. But again, we want to stress that we are here to help you and support you. And if there are any critical bugs, our team is available to fix those day in and day out. If these are support requests or things to change, those may take a little bit longer based on our standards, and within our contracts we do list that. But just knowing that support is there to help you during working hours is super important. So making sure that you understand that, but you also feel confident in that standby support. And so 3 of the big launch day FAQs that we typically get are, what if something goes wrong? What does launch really mean? And what if a client isn't ready? So the first one, if something goes wrong, we will be there to help you, which is why we recommend that Monday through Wednesday launch day. The second thing is, what does launch really mean? So launch can mean different things for different marketplaces. You may hear us talk about a soft launch versus a launch. A soft launch might look something like Shuup has actually done everything on the list and we've signed off. Your marketplace is ready for the public. However, the client may have not been able to onboard their vendors in time, or maybe their content isn't as perfect as they would like it to be. And so what they do is a soft launch where we take the marketplace live and it is accessible. Because it is in working condition. However, there are some things on the client's end that need to be done. As far as like launch goes, if we're doing a full launch, that means we take it live and everything is ready to go. Vendors are onboarded, products are able to be bought, or services are able to be bought, and we continue on with launching the actual marketplace at full throttle. One of the things we like to say is once you launch, that doesn't mean Shuup just ends it there and says, have a great day. Right after launching, we have post-launch for a week to 2 weeks after, and we're there with you every step of the way, kind of via Slack and via direct messaging, which is really great. And then after that, which will be in a little bit, we'll talk about post-launch support and what that looks like. And finally, what if a client isn't ready? So if a client isn't ready, this does go into partially what we said in the beginning, if something goes wrong. So if a client isn't ready the day of and says, you know what, we really don't want to do this, that's okay. We are here to help you, and we want to launch on time, but we also want you to feel secure and confident in your decision to actually launch. And so that would become a conversation between you and your project manager to discuss whether or not launch is possible within the next couple of days, or if this is something that will be pushed weeks or more out down the line. And we address it on a case-by-case basis. But the most important part of that is that Shuup is here to help you and to discuss kind of all the options you'll have and what it will look like. And then I did want to touch base a little on the what if something goes wrong again. Something like a critical bug or support bug, we have our team again support standby to help you with any of those items. We do thorough testing before launch day to make sure that these things or really try our best to make sure that these things don't happen on launch day or shortly after. And so if something does go wrong, just know we are there to help you. Finally, we have post-launch support. So again, there's a lot that goes into post-launch support, but I think it's important to just focus on some high-level things here. So we are here to support you. You'll hear me say that over and over again. But 1 week post-launch is going to be direct support. Sometimes this even is 2 weeks long, depending on the case and kind of what we've done. What that means is we will keep you within our Slack channels, and we will discuss anything that you have question-wise, support change-wise, bug-wise with you directly on our platform. Ongoing support process. So there are 2 types of support methods that you can, I guess, go about. So you'll either submit a bug request or submitting a change request. Bug requests are things that directly affect your marketplace that developers will have to go in and change, and they prohibit you from doing some type of functionality. So something like a critical bug will be marked as critical and is taken care of immediately. We ping our senior developers on this, and they get on it right away. We don't want to interrupt your business. Something like a bug request that is a little bit more minor, where maybe in the back end, your rich text editor or the place where you kind of write your terms and conditions is missing, like the button is not working as intended, it's not saving as intended. Yes, this is a bug and we take it very seriously, and we try to do it immediately, but we do have some longer time turnaround times for those types of things. And then finally, submitting a change request would be, we've actually noticed in our marketplace that we don't want this to say, apply, register vendor here. We wanted to say apply for vendors apply here, just like a wording change or something that a developer would still need to do on their end. However, it's not critical or, prohibiting any functionality for your business. That is submitted as a change request, and depending on the level of effort and hours that go into this, it will either be done and within a specific amount of turnaround time, usually about a week or so. Or if it's something that requires a great deal of effort or, hours, we actually connect you to sales, which again, will go back to Ellie. And then you talk about the change request itself, or you get a list of the change requests together, and we go about setting up some time and paying for the hours that the developer will put into this type of change request. So that way we can make sure that we're getting things done for you, but also that we are staying within our guidelines at Shuup with change requests. And that kind of brings us into additional work. So many times after a marketplace has launched, they'll do several phases of work. So they'll add features that will be helpful to their marketplace that they didn't necessarily find were needed in the first phase of development. So this might look like adding a shipping behavior that limits states from shipping, or limits shipping methods from, selling something to a specific state. That's an example we had. And so the process for that would be a submission to Shuup to say, hi, we'd like to do some additional work. We have these things in mind. What are you thinking on this? And essentially, we get sales involved because at this point, once you have launched and your post-launch, is that's the phase you're in. You don't have a project manager necessarily assigned to you. Shuup does its best to assign the same project manager to every project. That way, project managers are familiar with the project's initial phase or phases and can best help. But that is not always the case based on timing. If we can get another project manager in at a quicker time or at a faster rate, we want to do that for you so that we can really best help you as the client. So essentially, sales will get involved, and with additional work, like I said, Ellie's kind of our expert on that. You'll either have a spec call where you bring in that developer in to really hone down on what exactly the specifications for a feature or features are. And then after that, you basically revert back to the beginning with the sales process and going through all of those conversations and details, invoicing, payments, and signing contracts, all of those great things. And from there, you get placed on our project work queue. And then we schedule the work that is coming in based on a paid for basis. So if you pay for something, we put you right on the list, and so forth. And so if two people come in at the same time, one pays before the other, they go on the list first. And we find that to be kind of the best way to go about work. We find it to be the fairest as well. And it's been working for us really well. So, after that happens, we schedule your project and a project manager is assigned to your case, and we restart kind of our customer journey again to, talking about pre-launch and launching the feature, and then post-launch support and what that looks like. So it's really a continuous cycle. The customer journey, I like to say, kind of never ends, especially with Shuup. It's a long-term partnership, and so we may revert back to certain phases or items in the timeline, but the goal is kind of always the same. We always want to support and help you do what is best for your marketplace, because at the end of the day, if you and your marketplace are successful, Shuup is happy and we feel very successful. I wanted to speak a little bit about continuing success. So like I said, a lot of our clients who are in post-launch support have mention that this is, this is something long-term for them. And so we've just wanted to include a couple of quotes that we've had from some of our clients, and really just focus in on kind of what they were saying. So the first one is actually from a really dear client of ours, and they basically, my favorite part about this is that, they talk about that we worked well and within our deadline. As Ellie had mentioned, one of the things that sets us apart, we have pretty quick turnaround times. And so we try our best to get things done within our timeline and our deadline on both sides. I think it's very important. And so we really do take pride in that. And so to hear that from a client is always very great. Shuup is just a one-stop shop. So Shuup, like Ellie was saying, again, it's very customizable, it's very scalable, and we are in it to, take the customer journey even a step further and build or help you build and envision your marketplace to where the sky is the limit. The third one is a great quote as well, but basically this focuses on our affordability. So when you speak with sales, if you are not a current client and will have a call with Ellie or one of her sales team members, you will find that a lot of times our pricing seems to be a really great deal breaker when separating us from our competitors. And so that's something we do pride ourselves on as well. We did have a quote that said the whole process was just excellent from the beginning to the end. And I will share that this quote was much longer, but that specific client actually inspired us to do the customer journey webcast that we are doing today, which I find really great. And then the last one is, I think, a really great overall quote. So it was a very detailed process of going through what my expectations were and what they were able to deliver. If there were problems that I couldn't foresee or just didn't seem reasonable, the team brought these things forward. They were upfront and honest with me about the cost. I really love that quote because, especially from a project manager standpoint, it's always our goal to give you the best marketplace possible, but it's always important to be transparent in the process. It's always really important to stick with what your specifications say, and if something does come up, be transparent on our end with the client to let them know that this is either an additional cost or will take additional hours, and give our feedback. We are e-commerce experts, and we've done quite a few different projects with a lot of different types of clients with different deadlines and things of that nature. And so what we bring to the table as a project manager as well is some advice as to what seems reasonable within a phase 1 versus phase 2 versus phase 3 and so forth. And so just that piece of advice or partnering with a client and having that conversation may not always be the easiest, but it's definitely one of the most important conversations to have, and vice versa for a client who wants something additional, to be honest with their project manager and say, well, you know what, this is critical for us, and speaking up about that is always very important as well. It really just shows how important a partnership for a customer or a client's success truly is. I don't have anything else to add. Ellie, was there anything that you wanted to add to this?
Thanks for asking. No, I think you got it covered perfectly, Tamara. Great job in there. But yeah, as the next slide suggests, we would be happy to answer any of your questions already now in the live, or then you can, of course, email us always at contact@shuup.com.
Yeah. I do see we only have one question thus far, so I think we can answer it and then we can hop off. But the question is, what are both of your favorite parts of your sections of the process? I think they mean,
I
I guess,
love
what's your favorite part of sales and what's my favorite part
Yeah,
of project management?
yeah, I love that question. I definitely have an answer in place already. My favorite part is definitely like, start like dreaming about the marketplace together, going through like, okay, what should we do, this, should we do that, would this be a better fit for you, kind of like, I would say like maybe brainstorming together, because like the client brings the great idea, I may bring like some of the expertise, and then like just that discussion back and forth. That is definitely like my favorite part. Also with existing clients, this is the same. We're just like, okay, how we should make this feature work. Would this be better for the client's perspective, or can this help the vendors to even smooth the process better? just the overall like brainstorming flash, like dreaming together. That's what I love the most.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think my answer is actually pretty similar to yours. I think as a project manager, dealing with clients is always my favorite. I think hearing, how passionate they are about their marketplace and their vision, and
Yeah,
watching
it's
their excitement
motivating.
kind of, or faces light up, I guess, essentially during meetings when we show them, what we've actually worked on, and essentially showing them their idea come to life is always probably, the most rewarding piece of it. And just from a personal standpoint, I'm a super organized person, so I like being organized and kind of, overseeing things of that nature. So I think from a personal perspective, I think that's probably my favorite part. But I think at the end of the day, just like what you said, seeing like a client's enthusiasm is really cool.
Yeah, it's so motivating. Honestly, like I love working with, I think all of our clients in a way are a type of like connectors because, they're there to connect the vendors, the buyers, like, it's very motivating to work with these kind of people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay. I don't see any more questions for today, but as Ellie had said, if you are watching this as a recording or a question comes up later on, please feel free to contact us at contact@shuup.com. Thank you, Ellie, for joining us today, and thank you all for joining in for this webcast.
Thank you for the invite.